Okay, here we have our lizard that we're going to be performing the gastric tubing for. This is Roxy, and Roxy is a twin-spotted spiny lizard. Scientific name is Celeporus bimaculus, and they're called twin-spotted because, as you can see, they have a double row of spots along the back, or in scientific speak, when you're talking about reptiles, those are known as blotches along the dorsal aspect, or the dorsum. And Roxy, like her boy Moxie, she's also a rescue that came by way of the U.S. Global Exotics case. And so she's been here approximately a year, and her rehab has gone well, and she's in good health now. It's just minor issues for her, and she's in sanctuary right now here. And so today she's going to help us out by being an instructional animal, and we're going to give her a little oral lactated ringer solution here that I've colored with some B vitamin complex, and that's so that it's easier to see. And as you can tell, I have her upper body covered with a paper towel, and that's because in these animals you can reduce the amount of stress on the animal and the amount of resistance you encounter from them if you'll just cover their eyes. It's much like with many birds. Falconers will often, when they move a bird around, they'll put a hood over the bird's eyes. And that works very well also for lizards. It doesn't always work very well for turtles, tortoises, and snakes, but with everything from alligators and crocodiles all the way down to these little bitty lizards here, it works pretty good. And unfortunately, we will have to take her out from underneath there, and she's going to fight us a little bit because we have to give her a oral tubing. And so we'll just do that here now. And when I was speaking earlier of the ease of the demonstration of the tubing with the spiny lizards, that's because, as you can see, they are not shy about biting at all. The spiny lizards are very much prone to biting when you pick them up, so that makes it easier to tube them because they're going to open their mouth for you. If they're not too weak, if they're very badly injured or very weak, then they're not going to care very much about biting you, and so you will have to pry the mouth, and that's a delicate procedure and something that I will cover in another video. But the way to go with these tubes, let me just get this back in her mouth. There's a couple of ways you can go in tubing them. First of all, let me say this: you'll need to take your tube and pre-measure to the desired depth, and what you're shooting for is to get it just above the entrance, or at the entrance to the stomach. You don't want to go too deep and put the fluid or the formula into the intestines. So you only need to go far enough that there's not much danger they're going to regurgitate and then aspirate on it. And so typically what I shoot for is just around armpit level, right around in here. And what you want to do is, if you don't have a reference mark, like this tube here is indexed at 1 centimeter increments, and if you don't have those marks, or it falls in an area where you don't have a mark, you can take a little Sharpie marker and put a mark across it. But for these purposes right here, we have a number right there, the 4, and that's going to work close enough for our purposes here. And the next thing you need to do is you're going to put your syringe, put your tube on the tip of the syringe, and you're going to want to prime the tube to get the air out, because you don't want to inject air into the lizard's stomach. So prime it to get the air out, and then you can just dip the end of it in a little water. You can also use a little bit of olive oil or mineral oil and very lightly coat the end of the tube so that it glides easily. You don't want to use very much at all if you're using a mineral oil or olive oil. because you don't want to cause any gastric distress. But I found that just dipping in a little bit of water works nicely to kind of lube the tube up as well. And if you have room, you can go in from here and just follow the roof of the mouth. You can also insert the tube here at the rear of the rear corner of the mouth where the upper and lower jaw meet, and you really don't have a lot of danger of accidentally intubating the lizard in the trachea if you use the appropriate size tube. And that's because the glottis, or the opening to the trachea in reptiles, is much like birds. It's just a small hole that's on the top side of the tongue and generally towards the back of the mouth. And I was hoping to be able to show that to you, but it's not very apparent on camera with her. But generally speaking, even when I'm intentionally intubating the airway of a reptile, which I will do, and perform rescue breaths, and that's been successful at times, but even when I'm intentionally attempting to intubate the airway, it is somewhat difficult, and that's even when the animal isn't giving me very much resistance. And so it's a small opening, and you really have to be aiming for it to get it. So unless you're using a really small feeding tube, you're really not going to have a lot of danger of accidentally going down their windpipe with it. But obviously you want to select a tube that's appropriate size, and I would not use this a tube this size for an iguana or a larger turtle or tortoise, and that's because obviously you could accidentally intubate the airway with a tube this size. Not only that, but when you have a larger lizard like an iguana or a tortoise, or say a red-eared slider, they'll typically bite down on these tubes, and then you're not going to get anything through them. And they can also bite them right in half, and you don't want them ingesting any portion of the tube, so you don't want that. But again, you just pre-lube your tube and prime it, and just follow the curvature over the roof of the mouth. And like this demonstration will show you, it's not always, going to go first time, but just repeat as necessary. And it does help to have an assistant. And just insert your tube, and if it follows the roof of the mouth, or you get it far enough back in the throat, in the corner there, and you go across, you can pretty easily avoid that trachea. And it also should go pretty easily as well. If you're meeting resistance, then you're probably getting kinked up, or you're going the wrong way with it. So if in doubt, just back off and have another go at it. And so once you're in there, you can just push slowly. You don't want to go too fast, because typically if you go too fast with whatever you're administering, they may attempt to resist you and then regurgitate, and they start spitting everything out, and it makes a big mess, and then they aspirate on it, and it's just a big mess. But if you go slowly, you'll generally have very little problem. And I also keep them oriented vertically like this, and that helps for everything to go down. And if I'm giving any type of thickened formula, I'll often, particularly with snakes, I'll rub along the throat and kind of ease it down. And so it's not very hard at all, and we're done there. We just gave her 20 units of the lactated ringers, and it's just that easy. And now she's obviously not wanting to let go of our little tube here that we're using as a speculum. So typically what I'll do is I'll just let them bite down on it. I'm not going to fight her to get it out of her mouth. It's the same way when they bite. I don't want to break their tooth or hurt them or anything, so I don't resist them very much. I just kind of wait until they want to let go, or I'll blow in their face, or You can sometimes put a drop of water on their snout and they'll release. But I can just let her down. There she goes, and she'll let go of it when she's ready. So now I'm going to corral her up. And in the next video, I'm going to actually show you a gastric tubing of some Reptile assisted feeding formula to a horned lizard, and that'll be coming up in just a minute.